So today, I have a very interesting story to tell you. So every Friday, guys, I always go for a walk out in the woods. And since the weather is really nice and sunny, I've decided to go all the way down to the street and on the road to a busy area. And since it's very hot, I also got hot, so I've decided to take off my sweater. And when I took off my sweater, my sexy body got exposed. You can now see my muscles, you can see how flat my stomach is. Basically, you can see the definition of my body because it's the result of the gym. And that is why you should go to the gym all the time to keep yourself healthy and fit. Anyway, the story is, so when I was walking on the street, I heard this brum, 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 brum. It's very loud. Next thing you know, this Lamborghini stopped beside me. It was an old man driving a Lamborghini. He was probably in his early 50s, I assume. And he was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I was like, "Fantastic." And then he was like, "Do you need a ride?" And I was like, "No, why?" He was like, "You look like someone who need a ride." I was like, "No, I'm okay, thank you." He was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "I'm positive. I don't need a ride. I'm okay walking." And he was like, "Are you positive? Because, the seat is very comfortable. It might look good on you when you sit down here." And then I was like, "No, thank you. I'm fine, sir." And he was like, "Sir? How could you call me sir?" And I was like, "Okay, Jimmy, have a nice day." And the next thing you know, he got offended. And he was like, "You're probably the first person who ever refused to be in my Lamborghini." And he was like, "Most women would be in my Lamborghini right now." And I was like, "Hoy, Jimmy, I'm not most of the women, okay?" And I was like, "Go away and find someone else." He got really mad, guys, because I somehow offended him. He was like, "Do you have a boyfriend?" And I said, "Even if I have a boyfriend, I would never be in your Lamborghini right now." He was like, "Why?" And I was like, "How many girls you pick up every day in that Lamborghini, huh?" He was like, "Well, a lot. That's the point of having a Lamborghini, is to pick up a lot of ladies." And I was like, "No, thank you. I have a boyfriend and my boyfriend has a Toyota. And his Toyota is way better than your Lamborghini because at least I'm the only girl in that Toyota." And he was like, "Fuck you, bitch." I was like, "Fuck you too." And then next thing you know, he drove away. And isn't it crazy how most men think that if they have a Lamborghini or if they have money, they can just pick up women anytime they want? That's how shallow-minded and lost they are in their life. They think that women are all the same. They think that women think the same. And luckily, I'm a Filipina. I'm the kind of Filipina who's interested in a man who's a good and quality man, not a flashy man. No, 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 no. Once upon a time, a long time ago, well, that's why it's a long time ago, because it's once upon a time, right? Anyway, guys, one day I went to the Filipino store, and one of the reasons why I would go to the Filipino store is so that I can buy dried fish. Anyway, dried fish is not the actual story. So after I bought the dried fish, I got out from the Filipino store. And then next thing you know, I saw this guy putting furniture in his van. And then he saw me, right? And he asked me, "Hi, kumusta? Are you a Filipina?" So I thought he was a Filipino too. And then I said, "Yes, Filipina. Kumusta, kuya?" And then he's like, "Kuya, I'm still young." He's like, "Just call me Nestor." And then I said, "Okay, Nestor." And then he asked me, "Are you single?" And then I said, "No, I'm not single. I have a boyfriend." And then he's like, "Are you sure?" And then I said, Nestor, look at this beauty. Do you think I'm single?" And then he said, "Well, I'm just making sure, because a lot of girls, I ask them if they're single and they say they're not, even though they are." And then I told him, "Well, I'm not one of those girls." And so he asked me a second question. "Where in the Philippines are you from?" And I said to him, "I'm from Mindanao." And then he said, "Oh, I'm from the Manila area." So I said to him, "You're Tagalog." And then he was like, "Oh yeah, you're Bisaya, right?" I said, "Yes." And then he was like, "Oh, Bisaya girls are so beautiful, but they're very snobbish." And I was like, "Uh-huh." And then he told me, he was like, "Oh, even though I'm from Manila, I have lands in Visayas. Meaning, I have hectares of lands in Cebu. We're talking about 10 hectares. And then I said, "Well, good for you. You must be proud of it." And then he was like, "Yes, I am, but I don't really need it." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, well, I'm in Canada, so most of my families are here, so I don't really need all my hectares of lands in the Philippines, not all of them anyway. And he was like, perhaps I could give you 1 hectare. And I was like, oh, no, I'm okay, thank you. And I was like, okay. And then next thing you know, he was like, did you know that I am the only Filipino here in Vancouver that own Lamborghini? And I was like, well, good for you. And he was like, yeah, I have a really good business and I feel like I'm the only successful Filipino here in Vancouver. That's why I bought Lamborghini. And I was like, uh-huh. And he was like, so are you interested with the 1 hectare of land? And I was like, oh no, I'm okay, kuya, because I'm sure there's an exchange to that. And then he was like, yeah, obviously that's how it works. He was like, if you're willing to break up with your boyfriend, then I'm going to give you all the lands I have in the Philippines. And I was like, kuya, no thank you, bye. So I left, right? You see what I mean, guys? You think that this man can buy you easily because they have money? My goodness.